Thank you, Faizan. Good afternoon to all the participants in the Shalby Limited Q1 FY21 earnings con call hosted by Elara Securities. Today we have with us from the Shalby management, Dr. Shanay Shah, President, Mr. Prahlad Inani, CFO, Mr. Babu Thomas, Chief Human Resource Officer, Mr. Murari Rajan, Principal Advisor to CMD, and Mr. Mahesh Purohit, who is the part of the corporate strategy and investor relation team. I hand over the call to Mr. Mahesh.
Thank you, Ankit. Good afternoon, everyone. Our earnings presentation is uploaded on the stock exchange website and on our company website shalby.org. We do hope you have already had the opportunity to go through the presentation. Please note that some of the statements made in today's call may be forward-looking in nature and may involve risks and uncertainties. Kindly refer to slide number 37 of the earnings presentation for a detailed disclaimer. Now, I would like to hand over the call to Mr. Shanay Shah, President, for his opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
So, good afternoon, everyone, and again a warm welcome to our first quarter FY 2021 earnings call. I would like to firstly thank all of you for your interest in Shalby, but more importantly, hope you and your dear ones are keeping well and safe during these times. On this call, I will start with a quick overview of the company's performance during the quarter and then hand over to our CFO, Mr. Prahlad Inani, to discuss the financial performance in detail. As expected, the first quarter was severely impacted by the ongoing spread of the COVID-19 pandemic and measures adopted to contain the spread, such as the nationwide lockdown and then extended restrictions in various states. The healthcare sector has also been inundated with patients in need of COVID-19 critical care, whilst many other patients postpone their consultancies or surgeries. However, in this environment, the top priority for Shalby as a group has been and continues to be to provide COVID-19 treatment and ensure staff wellness and safety. As we mentioned on our last earnings call, it was clear that revenue loss from reduced elective procedures would continue into this quarter, and we have seen that with elective and semi-elective procedure volumes declining significantly. In light of these circumstances, our revenue for the quarter declined to rupees 408 million and EBITDA loss was 25 million, out of which 16 million can be directly attributable to a CSR expense. During the lockdown, a natural implication of restricted interstate and intrastate movement was declining patient visits, but as our significant portion of revenues are derived from arthroplasty and orthopedics, it was observed that many patients were deferring and not cancelling their planned treatments and surgeries. Within this immensely challenging backdrop, support from our management team has been outstanding on many fronts, including senior leadership opting for voluntary salary reduction. Dr. Darshini Shah, the Director of Dental Cosmetology and Implantology, and Dr. Vikram Shah, Chairman and Managing Director, have decided to not take any fees for their services for all of fiscal year 2021. This type of response from our senior management team is much appreciated and will go a long way in supporting Shalby during these unprecedented times. In the initial phase of lockdown, occupancy rates fell significantly across the Shalby group of hospitals. However, I am happy to report the situation is normalizing, with occupancy increasing in July and August to 450 beds, so very, very close to the pre-COVID levels. In September, we have started seeing occupancy rates which have been the highest ever for the group over the last 26 years. There are multiple reasons for this, including the removal of travel restrictions, which have increased patient mobility, and the fact that elective procedures can be deferred by patients for a limited lifetime period. In addition, our home care service offering was well received, and there was a positive feedback and higher acceptance of the service among COVID-19 patients. We also started tele-video consultancy services to connect and offer consultancy to patients at their convenience. With our ongoing plans to simplify the overall Shalby Group structure, we have acquired 100% of Slaney from Zodiac Mediquip, a promoter-owned entity, for a cash consideration of 1.1 crore. Slaney, as you may recall, is engaged into supply of certain pharmaceutical and surgical products. This acquisition will create synergistic growth and opportunities for the company. We have also acquired the remaining 5% of Griffin for cash consideration of 10 lakh rupees through our subsidiary, Shalby International, which to further simplify the organization structure, which is visible in the earnings presentation. Please note that there will not be any significant material impact of these transactions on Shalby Limited financials, but from now onwards, all the procurement will be done through 100% subsidiaries of Shalby. Hence, there will be no related party transactions with any promoter-held entities. So, another announcement that I would like to make is that Mr. Murari Rajan has joined our company as Principal Advisor to the Chairman with effect from 1st July 2020. He is a Chartered Accountant from UK and an MBA from MIT Sloan, and he has worked as the Executive Director in companies like Piramal Enterprises and JSW Steel. He has rich experience of over 25 years in corporate strategy, mergers and acquisitions, fundraising and investment banking. He will be working very closely with the management team, and he will be responsible for monitoring the execution as well as strategizing for the new businesses for Shalby, that is the home care, the franchisee, the Shalby Care Card, as well as the potential medical devices business that the group is seriously looking at. Looking ahead, we can say that there are signs of business normalization and our occupancy levels have already started to reach pre-COVID-19 levels. In fact, as I just mentioned, we have been coming up with new highs every day in the month of September because of the ongoing crisis. In addition, the treatment of COVID-19 patients across our hospitals except SG Shalby is further expected to increase the occupancy rates. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our entire team of doctors, paramedics and hospital staff for their outstanding professionalism and commitment during the course of the last few months. Now I will hand over to Mr. Prahlad Hinani, our CFO, to comment on the financial performance.
Thank you, Shanesh, and good afternoon, everyone. I'll present some thought on the financial performance and key indicator of the company for the first quarter. As highlighted by Mr. Shanesh, the impact of COVID-19 clearly means that the performance of the quarter is not comparable to previous periods, either subsequently or year on year. However, on a standalone basis, the company registered total revenue of 408 million in Q1 FY21 compared to 1,340 million in the same quarter last year. We had EBITDA loss for this quarter is 25 million compared to a profit of 314 million in the same quarter last year. Net loss was 86 million for the quarter compared to the profit of 237 million in the same quarter last year. We were able to restrict losses to the extent possible through the implementation of various cost optimization strategies and reduced operative and other expenditures. Our average occupancy rate was 17% with 205 beds occupied and ARPOB was 21,848 in the quarter, and our annual average length of stay for the quarter stood 5.1 days compared to 4.2 days in the same quarter last year. During this pandemic period, it has been observed that the patients who were deferring their planned treatment and avoiding visiting hospitals unless critical, and as such critical care and general medicine was the only specialty that saw an increase in revenue. Most importantly, Shalby continues to maintain a strong balance sheet with a net cash position of rupees 488 million at the end of June 2020. Our robust capital structure will help us to navigate successfully through these challenging times. Thank you very much. We can now open the call to any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The first question is from the line of Mukesh, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir. हेलो जैसा आपने इन्वेस्टर प्रेजेंटेशन में मेंशन करा है कि सितंबर में आपका 26 साल का हाईएस्ट ऑक्यूपेंसी रेट आएगा, राइट?
जी।
हेलो, बरोबर है ना? अब Q1 फाइनेंशियल ईयर 21 में हमारा ऑक्यूपेंसी रेट था 17%. क्या एक टेंटेटिव फिगर मिल सकता है कि ऑक्यूपेंसी रेट क्या आना चाहिए इस क्वार्टर का, Q2 का?
जी, उसमें क्या हो जाएगा, थोड़ा सा फॉरवर्ड लुकिंग हो जाएगा, तो ये नंबर आपको बता नहीं पाएंगे, बट मैं ये जरूर कह सकता हूँ. नहीं, इट्स हार्ड टू गिव द टेंटेटिव नंबर्स ऑल्सो, बट यस, मतलब आप Q1 और Q2 को कंपेयर ही कर नहीं पाओगे, बिकॉज गैप बहुत बहुत सिग्निफिकेंट होगा.
राइट.
मैं यहाँ पर बोलना चाहूंगा कि Q2 में हमारा एग्जिस्टिंग ऑक्यूपेंसी के पास में पहुंच जाएंगे. जो हम एग्जिस्टिंग ऑक्यूपेंसी कर रहे हैं वहां पर
38% के बीच में, 34-38 के बीच में जो आप कर रहे हैं.
बिल्कुल साहब.
अच्छा, अभी जैसा आपका एक कहना है कि अभी आपने कॉस्ट में बहुत ज्यादा रिडक्शन करा है, तो हेलो,
हाँ जी,
हेलो, कॉस्ट में आपने रिडक्शन करा है Q1 में काफी कुछ, तो Q2 में ऑक्यूपेंसी बढ़ेगी तो डायरेक्ट ईबिटा बढ़ेगा?
Q2 में EBITDA तो ज्यादा ही होगा, एंड EBITDA विल बी ऑलमोस्ट बैक टू प्री कोविड लेवल्स, ऐसा हमारा मानना है.
बट चूंकि हमको कॉस्ट ऑप्टिमाइजेशन का भी तो बेनिफिट मिलेगा ना सर?
उसका भी बेनिफिट हमको मिलेगा, बट क्या है कि जो हम अभी जो ऑक्यूपेंसी हमारी जो है उसमें से कोविड पेशेंट्स काफी है, तो आपने देखा होगा कि जो एवरेज रेवेन्यू पर ऑक्यूपाइड बेड है वो थोड़ा सा जो हमारा नॉर्मल रहता है उससे थोड़ा कम है ना? तो ऑक्यूपेंसी इंक्रीज होगी, बट उसके सामने जो ARPOB है वो भी फैक्टर इन करेगा, उसके हिसाब से हमारा EBITDA परसेंटेज निकलने वाला है.
ओके ओके ओके. अभी आप कोई परसेंटेज नंबर दे सकते हैं कि टोटल कैपेसिटी का कितना परसेंटेज कोविड को डिप्लॉय है?
सॉरी,
अभी आप कोई परसेंटेज नंबर दे सकते हैं कि हमारी टोटल कैपेसिटी का कितना परसेंट हम कोविड के लिए अलाउ कर रहे हैं?
अभी क्या है कि हमारी जो फ्लैगशिप हॉस्पिटल है SG हाईवे की, वो छोड़ के हमने बाकी सारे हॉस्पिटल में 50% ऑफ द बेड्स एलोकेट किए हैं फॉर कोविड, एंड बैलेंस 50 में हम नॉन कोविड ट्रीटमेंट दे रहे हैं.
ओके ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jason Soans from Monarch Network Capital. Please go ahead.
So thanks for taking my question. So one of the questions I wanted to ask that has been answered, as you said, that Q2 occupancy probably going forward will be around 34 to 38%. Just wanted to know, I mean, this transaction, which is 100% of planning which you acquired, just some color on it, like what is going to be the structure of it, and just some color on that, and what's the rationale behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, see, I will tell you that Planny Healthcare is was one of the promoter-owned entities, 100% entity owned by the promoters, and the revenues generated by that company in the last 2 years was on an average 12 crores, right? Now, according to a discounted cash flow method or any other method, if you come up with the valuation, it would be significantly higher. So what we tried and did is to minimize the transaction cost. We made the transaction on the basically the net worth of the company, and we estimated based on the numbers that the number was about 1.2 crores. And essentially, we basically made sure that, now it is a 100% subsidiary of Shalby. And, so basically Slaney is now a 100% subsidiary of Shalby. And the other thing is, regarding Zodiac, if you look at the organization structure in the investor presentation, you will see that anyway that entity was 98.5% owned by Shalby itself. But we managed to basically make it a 100% subsidiary. Again, the valuation of the company, and this was a transaction done only for the 5%. So we came up with an enterprise value of 2 crores, again based on the net worth of the company. And if you look at the average of the last 2 years' revenue, the last 2 years' revenues has been the average of last 2 years' revenue has been around 42.5 crores. So again, if we had gone with the discounted cash flow method, the valuation would have been much higher. So, we basically estimated based on the net worth of the company, which is basically which are basically the guidelines given by income tax. And essentially, we have realized that this basically the 2% which was owned, by some of the external shareholders, has also now been a wholly owned subsidiary of Shalby. So now, 100% of Griffin is also basically held by Shalby. So both are going to be 100% subsidiaries of Shalby. And going forward, there is not going to be any related party transaction by Shalby with any of the other promoter-owned entities.
Thanks. That's very helpful. And my next question, sir, just wanted to know, as in now the pandemic here again, clearly the danger is still lurking, but just wanted to know the road ahead. How do you look at, surgeries, the demand for surgeries in terms of arthroplasty being a main revenue contributor? So just wanted to know the road ahead, how do you look at it in terms of demand and in terms of patients returning back to the hospitals, and more prominently for elective surgeries, and probably also for COVID, if you could just give me some view on what your view should be. Probably we can also see the vaccine coming up soon, probably by the end of this year or probably beginning of next year. So just wanted your view on.
See, the orthopedic work that we did in Q1, now, the entire Q1, we are doing much more than that in, each of these ongoing months of Q2, right? And that number is also growing rapidly, right? So that number is going up. Having said that, we are not even close to the pre-COVID levels in terms of arthroplasty work that we are doing. So we are hoping that, in Q3, we will be able to get close to those numbers because things are opening up very fast now, right? As I said, the occupancy levels of the group have been at the highest ever levels. If you look at, even if we will be doing the average of Q2, we'll be doing higher than any other quarter over the last few years, right? So that is also because, a lot of other work has started coming back. And, we have been doing a lot of oncology work, a lot of nephrology work, and of course, COVID is, also growing at a very rapid pace. So we are treating a lot of COVID patients along with that. And regarding the elective work, we are not very worried because we know that, these patients are anyway going to come back to us, right? So it is just a matter of things opening up and, essentially delayed top line for us.
Right. Okay. Thanks. That's all from me.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Raj Desai from Prospero Tree. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes.
Thank you for this opportunity, sir. So my question to you is that Shalby is generating overall EBITDA margin of 19 to 20%, and Ahmedabad-based 3 hospitals, they are generating more than 25% of EBITDA margin, Krishna, SG and Naroda. But outside of Ahmedabad hospitals, namely Surat, Jaipur and Jabalpur, they are generating EBITDA margin of less than 12%. So as a result of which it creates a pressure on the other performing hospitals also to always perform even to generate average EBITDA of 19 to 20%. So I mean, generally it is said that mature hospitals generate higher EBITDA than newer hospitals. But I partially agree with that statement, as that is not the only thing. As hospital matures, footfall is the main thing. So I would like to know that what are the steps companies taking to improve the EBITDA margin of these hospitals, and within what period they will generate at least 19 to 20%. That is Surat, Jaipur and Jabalpur.
Okay, let me give you brief about that. You are precisely right saying that our hospitals in Ahmedabad and Gujarat, which is mature hospital, are giving us good EBITDA margin. That is correct. And you acknowledge one fact also that this Jaipur and Surat and our Indore hospitals are the new one. Fine. So let me tell you, our Jaipur, our Indore hospital have already started performing good, and the EBITDA margin is already started in 2 digits. We are expecting that this will cross at least another, you can say 300 to 400 basis points for sure, because the way occupancy is increasing at those places, that is very nice, and it is as per our expectations also. Coming back to Jabalpur, yeah, you are precisely right. We are focusing on Jabalpur because Jabalpur, due to some catchment area and other things, always been low performer. So we are having some strategies, and we are discussing that how we can have some good doctors onboarding in Jabalpur, and that will come back. Mohali hospital is just like 1.5 year or 2 year old hospital, so we are expecting that next year it will also come as a EBITDA positive. And Naroda is already started outperforming the thing, though it is also 3 to 4 years bucket maturity, but that has now giving us good occupancy and EBITDA margin.
So to add to what Mr. Inani said, this is also a product of the life cycle of the hospital, right? So the SG hospital and the Krishna hospital are 7 years plus hospitals, and some of these other hospitals that we are talking about are either under 2 years old or they are between the age bracket of 2 to 4 years. So as the hospitals will ramp up, and as the hospitals will become a little more famous in the vicinity, we will see that the top line will grow and the EBITDA margins will be seen. However, having said that, these other hospitals will only be able to do EBITDA margins of between 20 to 25%, and they will not cross 30% levels that SG and Krishna are doing, because a lot of arthroplasty work happens in the Ahmedabad mature hospitals, and essentially because of that sheer volume, we are able to generate a much higher EBITDA percentage, and hence, as I said, in some of these newer hospitals at maturity, we'll be doing between 20 to 25% of EBITDA margin.
Okay, so the new hospitals, which for example Surat, Jaipur and Jabalpur, which is right now below 12, so you are expecting for the next around 3 to 4 quarters they'll reach between 18 to 20%. Is that a fair estimate?
No. So I did not comment on the timeline. Essentially, we will have to see how COVID is going about. The way things are going right now, yes. But having said that, we cannot comment on when it will happen on a sustainable basis.
Okay. And any particular strategy that you are taking, for example, related to Jabalpur also? So, something, can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, so as I told that we are hiring their good doctors, and further we are hiring the competent manpower, and our branding and marketing strategy also there. So all these three sides.
The person you are speaking with has put your call on hold. Please stay on the.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So these are the three directional approach we are going to take, and we are hoping that Jabalpur will be delivering the positive results soon.
So also to add to what Mr. Inani is saying, across the group we have made a new strategy that we are going to be allowing visiting doctors to come in and operate at our hospitals. So that is going to be a major revenue generator for the company over and above what the full-time doctors are generating, right? Okay. So not only Jabalpur but all the other hospitals in the group will be benefiting from this new initiative from the top management.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Dixit Doshi from Whitestone Financial Advisors. Please go ahead.
Most of the questions have been answered. Just one thing. So you mentioned that from Q2 onwards we are seeing a very good occupancy, but obviously the average revenue per bed will be lower because of COVID. So can you just basically we do around 30 to 31,000 average revenue pre-COVID. So how much would be the COVID related revenue? I mean average revenue for a COVID.
So the ARPOB for COVID patients is about 16,000 rupees. This is aggregate average of the group wide number, right? And as a group we have done ARPOB of 21,000 plus. That is already shown in the investor presentation, right?
Okay. So can we expect that even though we will have a good occupancy rate, till the time the COVID patients will be consuming a lot of beds, the ARPOB to reach pre-COVID level will take some time?
See, the ARPOB to reach pre-COVID levels, again as I said, will depend on how quickly we start doing the other high-end elective work. But I can definitely tell you that we will be coming very close to the revenues, the pre-COVID revenues from Q2 onwards.
Okay, understood. Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Gautam Dedia from Old Bridge Capital Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so just wanted to get a sense. So you said arthroplasty will take time to come back to pre-COVID levels by Q3. So just a ballpark estimation of where we would be right now in terms of revenues compared to pre-COVID levels, like a range would also work.
So please repeat the question.
So you said arthroplasty will take Q3 quarter, right, to come back to pre-COVID levels. Currently in this quarter, where would we be compared to pre-COVID levels? Just a rough estimation of the range to get a sense.
It's hard to comment, but I can tell you that for Q1 we had been at about 12%, and so we will be in the range of between 15 to 25%.
Okay, of overall revenue.
Yeah.
And secondly, you mentioned that by Q2 we will be almost back to pre-COVID levels in terms of revenue or EBITDA?
Both. In terms of both, even the EBITDA and even the revenue, we will be.
Margins have not been impacted basically because of our cost cutting.
Margins have not been impacted. Basically, let me tell you one fact over here that with respect to this COVID patient, our material consumption is very less. So there we are getting margin, and that's why our margin will not be getting impacted.
Okay. So we'll be back to that 20-30 crore EBITDA range that we were doing last year. Okay.
Correct. Precisely right.
And now when I look at all of your future business lines that you all want to get into, I just wanted to get a sense. So the medical implant project that we are considering, are we applying for the government PLI scheme for that?
Yeah, you are right. And there are two new schemes has come right now. One from central government and another from state government. And both the schemes are very good for our medical device manufacturing plant. Even the state government scheme, Gujarat state government scheme is very good. So you are precisely right. We are having our plan and we will be certainly go under those schemes.
So basically these schemes require an investment of about 180 crores over 3 years, right? If I'm not mistaken.
So basically, for the central government policy, yes, but we are not sure whether we will be using that policy, but we'll surely be using the state government industrial policy 2020 for sure, and essentially we will have to again make a presentation to the central government if they can make any amendments, for us, because we are not looking at 180 crore investment over the next 2 years at least.
Sure. Yeah, that was the concern basically. That was a big investment. And what is the incentive in the state government scheme, if I may ask?
So basically what they are doing is they are giving you, the land at about 6% of the cost on an average 6% lease. And then there are other benefits like, they are basically reimbursing the entire capital cost that you've incurred over a period of 10 years. So, that they are giving you. Then they are giving you interest subsidies also on top of that. So there are many benefits that they are giving you, like the ones I just mentioned. So again, we will have to make a presentation to the state government here and then see how we can move ahead.
Okay. And secondly, on your franchise model, right, like in the last call you all indicated that you are exploring that opportunity at least in Kolkata, Nagpur, Pune. So I just wanted to get a sense on how do the economics work over there. So I'm guessing there'll be no capital employed per se. But how does the revenue sharing model work? So suppose if a surgery is for 100 rupees, what would be the amount that would on an average flow to us and what would be the cost involved?
Basically, with respect to franchisee model, we are just developing different model like franchisee owned and franchisee operated, and then shall be on franchisee operated. So these models which we are working right now, we are making some SOPs, we are making checklist for the due diligence and everything is there. So most probably it will be coming, in a shape, and then we will be declaring all these things.
See, unfortunately, what has happened is that because of COVID, some of the plans have gotten delayed. So, essentially, I think we will have to look at, implementing this either in Q3, hopefully, if things open up, or maybe Q4.
Okay. And just last two questions. So first would be on the promoter holding. Have you all taken there was some SEBI extension that you all have taken for bringing your stake down to 75%. So will that be applicable for now December or August of next year? And second would be, I just want to understand, going back to your medical implant device, how do you think about lawsuits in this industry, right? So you have your global players who are constantly faced with lawsuits, right? Maybe merit or demerit. So just wanted your thought process on the risk mitigation or possible risks associated with that business.
See, regarding the medical device business, we are still in a very early phase to comment on this right now. So whenever we make a plan, it will be a, kind of a plan where, we will try to work on these things and try to avoid them as soon as possible. Largely in India, we have not seen a lot of these lawsuits compared to countries like the US and Europe. And secondly, to do with, the promoter holding. essentially, we are in discussions with several investors as well as brokers to essentially work on this deal, because we don't have, we've not applied for an extension, so most likely by the end of this year we will have to dilute.
Okay, and just one last question, if I can squeeze in. Just when you give your presentation, you generally give data by maturity, right? And this time I think I couldn't see that. So will that practice continue once things normalize? Is it just because of COVID times that we are not providing that granular data?
No, so yeah. Actually, this time the presentation we just made more elaborate, and we presented even the hospital-wise details and some, the key commentary where how the hospital is doing, what are the merits for each and every hospital. So that's why the practices is taken here, that we would like to present more on hospital-wise rather than this, that maturity bucket-wise.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Anmol Gangu from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my question. So my first question is that, you alluded to certain cost savings and, a lot of energy is being spent on controlling costs for the quarter. Just trying to understand that where are they across the line items? And an associated question related to that, if you look at the costs that have been brought down this quarter, at least the absolute cost, how many of, what proportion of that cost saving is permanent in nature? Because our experience is that, while revenue will come back, not all costs should come back. And what kind of, the new cost structure have you been able to put, taking advantage of the tough times? And what is the concomitant impact on margins as a consequence of that?
Right. This major saving, if you look at the books, the major saving has occurred in manpower cost, which now comes reduced around 45% from the previous quarter, the manpower cost, and that is primarily because of the artisan rate. 2-3 reasons. One reason was the artisan rate for this quarter has increased, and then we have not replaced the manpower during the quarter. And the second one was, as Mr. Sanay said, there was some voluntary reduction of pay cut taken by the senior team members from the doctors, as well as from the senior team members from the staff. And third one is that there are many staff who are not willing to come to office and took sabbatical leave during this period. And these also we have not replaced during this period. So almost 45% of the cost of employee cost got reduced during the quarter. And then we are seeing these coming quarters gradually, since occupancy is also increasing, but gradually the manpower cost is also increasing month on month, but not to the pre-COVID level. But going forward, once all the surgeries and all those things are picking up, definitely those numbers will catch up, not anyway up to the pre-COVID level, but next 1 or 2 quarters going forward, definitely we will come to that level.
Yeah, but just trying to correlate this with one of the earlier comments made that September we have seen peak occupancy, but I am sure that September would not have seen peak cost. So what's the way we should be thinking directionally about margins? Because a lot of companies have taken advantage of the situation and brought down costs, at least a fair portion of the cost permanently. So is it renegotiation with some of the staff and so on and so forth, and how should we be looking at margin profile going ahead?
So Anmol, this is Shanai, and on an average, when we were on the pre-COVID levels, we were doing revenues of close to 40 crores, and our total paychecks to doctors as well as staff was about 16 crores, right? So essentially, out of the 16 crores, usually 10 crore was the doctor cost and 6 crores was the cost for employees and some of the other outsourced services, right? Now, the doctor cost, which was, earlier largely fixed in nature and there was, a variable component to it, a lot of this cost has become variable cost. Most of this cost has become variable cost because we have started, we have made most of the doctors on a fee-for-service basis. So what that means is that, there are significant savings and which will continue to come into Q2, Q3 and Q4 as well, right? And on an ongoing basis until we again make them full-time. Now, when we will be making them full-time again, it's hard to comment because we don't know how COVID will pan out over the next few months. So, that's one. So majority savings are coming from there, and then of course there are some savings which are coming from employee costs also.
Right. So basically, if I look at, if I was to kind of break it down into monthly and, for a 40 crore or 13, 14 crore would be the monthly run rate. And if there was 5.5 crore of monthly run rate in terms of doctor wages, then that now comes down to by say a crore or so on a permanent basis, and therefore you're looking at a 20% kind of permanent decline at peak occupancy. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, that is not completely right, but yes, basically the Q1 numbers in terms of doctor cost as a percentage to revenue as well as some of the employee cost as a percentage to revenue will be a good guidance for you, for the next few quarters.
Okay, thanks. Thanks. That answers my question.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Gautam Dedia from Old Bridge Capital Management. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the follow-up. Just one question. So you mentioned that you're allowing visiting doctors to now comply or conduct operations in your hospitals, and you moved for your existing doctors, you moved from a fixed cost to a variable cost that will eventually again move back to a fixed cost post-COVID. Is that right?
Yes. See, in most of the cases, yes. But we, along with that, we are also engaging fresh doctors with fee-for-service and part-time model.
Okay. And so how do you incentivize your doctors to then stay with you if you're allowing visiting doctors like this? Is that an issue in retaining talent?
So, see, the full-time model, we are not abandoning. That is anyway is continuing. But along with that, we are also allowing free-for-service model and also part-time doctors who can come and operate in our facilities. So both will parallelly run so that there will be full-time doctors continuing in our group as we had earlier engaging them.
And on your part-time doctors, what revenue share model do you work with?
That varies, from specialties to specialties and also to area it differs. But it will definitely be, better when we compare to the fixed cost model. So in many cases, it will be better than what, the fixed cost model is offering to our book.
Okay, and on the fixed cost model, so the doctor just gets a monthly or salary check, and does he get a variable component at all?
Yeah, both.
And what would be the proportion, just to get a sense?
It again varies. It varies. Definitely, it is not a fixed kind of a margin between fixed and variable. It's doctor to doctor, area to area, specialty to specialty, it differs.
And right now,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, so we are saying doctor fee as a percentage to revenue, depending on whether he's a physician or a surgeon will range between 15 to 30% of the total revenue generated by the doctor.
He's asking about fixed and variable. How do we?
So, and essentially what we have to do, like when we're talking about how much fixed component will be there, will really depend on, the demand and supply for that particular doctor and that particular specialty. And, then of course, the variable fee will be really to, kind of try and incentivize him for work done higher to that. But there is no fixed kind of a number that, this is going to be the rate for a onco physician in Jabalpur, So it really depends on, what kind of experience the doctor brings to the table and, other things as well. And the number of onco physicians are probably, which are there in that particular town. So it depends on the range of factors.
No, but in this quarter, when you moved completely to variable, how much, so whatever year-on-year decline we are seeing in the doctor fees, basically we take that as a proxy, right? For a fixed and variable component.
Sorry, can you come again?
No, I said this quarter you all have moved to a completely variable model. So just to get a sense, I can just look at the year-on-year numbers, right? That would be a good proxy.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that's...
So essentially, what you can look at, the way to assume and look at doctor cost going forward will be to see it as a percentage to the revenue. Whatever has been achieved in Q1 in terms of doctor cost, we will not be crossing that in the quarters to come.
Okay.
In fact, it will be much lower than that because Mr. Inani just mentioned that, we'll be coming very close to, the pre-COVID revenues and, the pre-COVID EBITDA percentages, and which means that, the doctor cost and the employee cost will be, according to that, right?
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jason Soans from Monarch Networth Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the follow-up. Just a small clarification. You said that ARPOB for a COVID patient is around 16,000 and your ARPOB for this quarter is around 21,848. Just wanted to, so what's the mix of COVID patients in the occupancy in terms of volume, if I can put it? Just a broad range would do. And what is the mix now and what do you see it going forward? Like,
we can't predict on what it is going to be going forward, right? Because it will really depend on how bad the crisis will continue to be, right? So it's hard to comment on that, right? And regarding the mix, again, we will have to come back to you with the numbers.
Okay, sure. Thanks. That's all from me.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining our Q1 FY 2021 call. If you have any further questions, please feel free to connect with our investor relations team and continue to remain safe. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.